So we're going to be looking at the utility maximizing choice of consumption and leisure. And we're going to be doing this in the simplest possible case where we have a standard utility maximizing economic agent, and there are essentially no constraints apart from the budget constraint. Okay, so let's get going with this. We can think of this individual as having preferences over two types of goods. So there's two types of, goods. So we can think of goods, things we consume, and then we think of leisure or non-work. Okay, so the whole idea is that the more you work, the more goods can you buy, but also the more you work, the less leisure do you have. Okay, the less time off do you have. And this trade-off is going to be important. So let's look at that, and we can, why not draw a graph? So we have the amount of goods here that this individual can purchase on the vertical axis, and leisure or non-work, if you wish, on the horizontal axis. Okay, so the higher up on the vertical axis, the more goods do you have. The further out on the horizontal axis, the more leisure do you have. Okay, and we can describe the preferences of this individual with a indifference curve. So something like this passes. So in an indifference curve, curve. Okay, so you're to some extent willing to trade off leisure against goods, less leisure, more goods, or less goods, more leisure. And how you're willing to trade off this depends on where you are. So this is like a standard utility function that we've, or indifference curve that we've had before in the course. We also know from before in the course that, or in the book, that where we choose typically would be where utility maximization implies that we want to be on as high indifference curve as possible, given the constraint that we're facing. And the constraint that we're facing here is that the budget constraint, how much goods you can purchase, depends on how much you're working. So let's look at that budget constraint. So we have the amount of goods that you can purchase, and to make it simple here, we just normalize the price of goods to 1. So, think of the price of goods as 1. So how much goods can you purchase? Well, that depends on, there's a wage here, a wage per hour that you're working, times H, which is the amount of hours that you're working. Okay, so there's no age here. So let's rewrite this and see that, how many hours are you working? Well, it's whatever time you're not spending in leisure. So if we're thinking within the confines of a single day, the amount that you could work is 24 hours in principle. We could have various sort of, discussions about what should be the maximum amount of available work. You typically need to sleep a bit, et cetera, but that's not key for the argument here. So there's some limit to how much you can work. For simplicity, just think of that as 24 here. Or we could think of it as, we could do this at the monthly level or at the yearly level. We're here doing it at the daily level. So the amount of goods you can purchase depends on how much you're working, and work is whatever maximum amount of time that you have available minus the time that you spend in leisure. Or multiplying out here, we have an intercept there of 24W minus WN. So let's draw that in the figure here, and let's draw that in a way so that the two curves are tangent. By now you realize why. So we have here, we have intercept of 24. Here we have an intercept of 24W. Okay, so what's the important point here? Well, the important point is that if you want to have more leisure, what does that do to your ability to purchase stuff? Well, the more leisure you have, the greater N, the less stuff can you purchase. You can think of this as the wage here being the opportunity cost of leisure, right? You know, whatever time you're spending leisure here, you're not working, you're not making, you're not increasing your income. Okay, and just as in a standard case where we're looking at two different goods, we would have an optimum where the indifference curve is tangent to the budget constraint. So you would have G star amount of goods. You would have, or you, this individual living in this rarefied world, would have this much leisure. Leisure, could call that N star here, and whatever's not leisure is spent working, what I'm doing now. Okay, so that's the simplest case where that's a simple case of utility maximizing choice between labor and leisure.